We reaffirm the right of all South Africans to legitimate and peaceful protest. No amount of legitimate grievance or dissatisfaction warrants the destruction of public or private property, as has happened in that area. South Africans must always be guided by the principles that the rights of any citizen are always balanced by responsibility and accountability. And the right of access to basic education is limitless and unqualified. And the effects on children of Vuani arising from such destruction of public assets, the infringement on their rights to basic education, and the irreplaceable files and data destroyed at those gutted schools cannot be quantified into rands and cents. It is simply devastating and unacceptable to the extreme. We wish to applaud the communities who put their lives and safety at risk to protect the remaining schools in their communities and encourage them to continue making basic education a societal matter. I can assure those communities that their protection of their schools has guaranteed the future of their children. Madam Chair, at the outset, bearing in mind that basic education is a concurrent function in government, and in order to realign our functions in the emerging realities of the public service delivery landscape, it has been necessary for us as a sector to review our planning framework. As a result, it has been necessary to realign our functional areas, institutional structures, as well as our plans and programs to more explicitly reflect those of the national sphere in the basic education sector, while ensuring that the provincial functions in the different detailed provincial programs and plans is aligned with national priorities. Improved quality basic education is the apex priority of this government, with the intentions of building specific strategies that will transform the education sector. We have since aligned our action plan to take account of the 2030 timelines prescribed by the National Development Plan. So our Vision 2030 will guide the basic education sector in our work. Improved learner achievement and school performance continues to be our main goal, and this budget vote, therefore, focuses on learning and teaching in the sector and on the commitments we have made in the post-2015 development agenda, the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which has a specific focus on the provision of quality education. Equity, quality, and inclusive lifelong learning opportunities for all continue to be our focus. It is therefore incumbent on all of us to ensure optimal performance at all levels of the system. All of us have to make concerted efforts to uproot poor performance at all levels of the system. So the 2016 MTF period will be marked by a consolidation of our work and on guiding and deepening the work done at classroom, school, and district level through monitoring and supportive action at provincial education departments and the actions of the department at national level. Madam Chair, international assessment studies, for instance, TIMSS, which is an abbreviation of Trends in Mathematics and Science, the results of 2012 to 2012 focusing on grade 4s and 8s, science and mathematics, and also PILS, which is an abbreviation of Progress in International Reading and Literacy Studies, do show that we are improving the educational achievement of learners from poor households. We are looking forward to the release of TIMSS 2015 and PILS 2016 in November, and this year and next year in 2017. But Chair can share with this House that the preliminary results of SACMEC, which is the Southern Eastern African Consortium on Monitoring Education Quality, does confirm confirms what has been done in the most courageous and large-scale intervention in our sector. Madam Chair, the SACMEC 4 results, which are going to be released in June, for the first time in our history, indicate that as a country, we have reached the 500 center point, and which is a good story to tell, because it does show that we have improved massively to be able to reach that point. So together with our partners, the focus will continue to be on getting learning and teaching in classroom right, whether it is in terms of the foundational skills, subject content knowledge, and teaching context and practice. We must get all those who are in the positions of responsibility in our system to act in support of the nation building in its truest sense. We must all build a nation in which reading, social cohesion, and engagement and collective responsibility coexist, and in which communities respect the rule of law and own their role in developing our education system. Whilst education is a complex enterprise, we are able to confirm that the effects of the massive investment government has made in the last few years are visible and can be felt throughout the system, particularly in the classroom. Efficiency is increasing in all aspects of the system, with reduced dropout and improved retention rates of the grade 9s, increased gender parity across the schooling system, and more young people matriculating yearly than ever before. Now we have more African graduates in university than ever before as a result of all this work. We have noted, however, that the schooling system needs to address the dropout rates from grade 9 to 12, and hence the introduction of the Second Chance program for young people, youth development, and energized social cohesion programs. We've also looked at curriculum differentiation for more effective inclusive education and the introduction of the three-stream system, which is occupational and technical and vocational streams. And we will be giving more details on this program because we're very excited about the introduction of this program. Through the NDP, our priorities have been set. We have to improve the quality of teaching and learning through better teacher support, development, utilization and supply, as well as better materials, and infrastructure development, preservation and maintenance. We are therefore aligning the departmental structures, partnerships and assessment system in our system so that they better support learning, teaching, feedback and support in our classroom and the accountability of the resources our country invests in our schools. We are acutely aware that learner well-being has a direct bearing on schooling and learning, more so than in any other context. Hence, we have evaluated implementation and deepened the reach of our care and support program. So together with our partners, the investment in teacher resource centers and the use of information and communication technology in teacher development have enabled us to multiply and expand the reach of our efforts at supporting our teachers in subject content knowledge and teaching practice. Stability has been achieved in curriculum reform, and working with our provincial counterparts, efforts to ensure full curriculum coverage at school level will be the focus of all programs through better accountability for learning and collaboration with all stakeholders. And the integration of e-innovation, e-governance, and e-administration will enhance the use of ICTs in teaching and learning, and will be the focus of the Operation Phakisa interventions. Through Operation Phakisa, we will roll out ICT programs that will develop and modernize the skills of our teachers and learners to match the needs of the changing world. Madam Chair, our approach is in support of the NDP assertion that greater use of technology backed by high-speed broadband could open new opportunities for teachers and learners. Chair, the NDP enjoins all of us to learn at least one indigenous language as part of nation building and social cohesion. And in 2014, we began with the incremental introduction of African languages in 8 provinces, in 228 schools as an immediate response. So our social cohesion activities will have a particular focus on elimination of scourge of racism, xenophobia, and intolerance that persist. So over the 2016 MTF period, the sector will have dedicated programs to support rural and small schools after appropriate rationalization and measures of unviable schools that has been finalized in all provinces. Madam Chair, the introduction of annual national assessment during the past term has helped to identify weaknesses in the teaching and learning process. The lessons learned since 2011 continue to influence our teacher development program. So in 2014 to 29 MTSF period, the emphasis is on improving the verification and the credibility of the ANA, hence the current review of ANA. So participation in international assessments is ongoing to continuously measure our learner performance against the best in the world. The department will utilize a strategy also of the recruitment, the appointment of teachers to ensure stability in staffing at school level and to improve the efficiency in the appointment of teachers. And the department will continue to work with sister departments to formalize grade R and will ensure that the provision of appropriately qualified and experienced ECD practitioners, as well as age-appropriate learning and teaching support materials, are prioritized. Over the past few years, we have seen an increased number of learners in grade 1 who have attended grade R. And our pro-poor policies have also helped to bridge the inequalities in the system, and have also enabled the retention of learners in the system. So cost containment measures in our sectors include, but not limited to, the improvement of asset management, retrieval, and retention of material, from fixed assets to books and teaching and learning support. Our monitoring at school and district levels will focus on these in the coming years. Centralized procurement through the National Treasury will gain traction in order to maximize on the economies of scale in the procurement of goods and services required in the sector. So in support of the partnership advocated by the NDP, the National Development Education Trust continues to help the department in its mission to transform the education system. The NECT is devoted to the strengthening of selected education districts and improving the performance of schools within those districts. 21 of the 86 districts have been identified for long-term intervention, but 8 education districts with more than 4,362 schools and in 5 provinces have been prioritized, and these include Libode, Mount Frere in the Eastern Cape, Pinetown and Utungulu in KwaZulu-Natal, Waterberg and Vembe in Limpopo, Bushabelo in Mpumalanga, and Bujanala in the Northwest. And these districts have been profiled, their pressing needs assessed, and identified for remedial work. And the NECT has embarked on several systems-level interventions to support immediate whole school improvements and during the 2015 year. And again, we have a list of interventions that we've agreed with the province, and because of time, I think members can read them from our website when we post the speech. So I want to proceed and say what is also critical to see in the interdepartmental collaboration in education is in the area of improving whole district performance and improving the health of our children in the school, and in ensuring that our schools are safe from crime, drug, and substance abuse. Our teaching and learning strategies and plans require the involvement of other partners in civil society and the private sector to enhance what is already there. Enhance the work that we do, the Motsepe Foundation, to increase participation in sports, in music and arts through the donation of more than 117 million over 10 years will help greatly to ensure that we succeed in these areas. The Motsepe Foundation, for instance, has given us 55 million for the following programs: the K Motsepe School Football Cup. It has given us money also for the ABC Motsepe Estate Fort Choral and Traditional Music, and has also given us money for the K Motsepe School in Netball Cup. And we're confident that all these programs will enable us to improve our work in the areas of, as I say, of music, arts and culture, and sports. We also have convened our global development partners to focus on system strengthening through our sectoral plan, Action Plan 2019, and our developmental goal partners now have a focus on understanding of the need for education system strengthening interventions as opposed to project approach of the past. We're also engaging with other education ministries in the region to collaborate with us on issues of curriculum innovations, teacher development and assessment, so as to mobilize assistance on a regional basis. There's now an understanding that schools can be community resources center for all manners of public services. Madam Chair, the department will intensify its role as articulated in the National Education Policy Act of monitoring and providing support for basic education programs implementation for provincial education departments. So the stabilization, administration, and strengthen the systems in the Eastern Cape Provincial Education Department is currently under Section 101B of the South African Constitution, and those of Limpopo departments where financial management functions have been taken to Treasury, but also working with the province of KZN to strengthen them in the areas identified by both players. We have started also a Read to Lead campaign, a campaign aiming to create national focus on improving the reading abilities of all South African children, and the campaign seeks to provide energy as well as direction and inspiration across all levels of the education system in homes and in public domain to ensure that by 2019, all learners can learn to read. The 1,000 School Libraries Per Year project, which I committed myself in the 2015-16 budget, I'm very excited, Madam Chair, to report that more than 3,000 schools have been provided either with mobile libraries, with trolleys, classroom reading corners, and there are libraries that we have refurbished. So instead of 1,000, we can report that we've made progress with 3,000. And want to say these corners have been provided with the support and donations and direct involvement of the private sector, of NGOs, and individual families who've donated their own family libraries. I'm particularly indebted to those South Africans who also have volunteered their time and resources to act as ambassadors of the Read to Lead campaign. So, Madam Chair, let me quickly outline how the budgets have been allocated this year. So allow me to provide a summarized overview of the progress in the schooling system and also what progress we've made. We've made great improvements in terms of grade R participation for 5-year-olds, which has improved from 40% in 2002 to 87% in 2014. The participation, for instance, of learners with disabilities has improved from 77.8 in 2009 to 93.4% in 2014. We also want to continue to report that primary participation by age groups between 7 and 15 has increased from 97.8% to 99% in 2014. So we are almost reaching universal access in this area. And the participation in secondary schools has equally improved. So let me quickly, as I say, run through how the budget has been allocated, Madam Speaker, before my time runs out. So the budget has been allocated as follows. We have been given a budget of 21.5 billion over the MTF, with the baseline reduction and the reprioritization of the budget, resulting in the 2016 MTF allocation to the Department of Basic Education becoming 22 billion 270 million, which is an increase of 3.5% from the 2015 MTF. We have been allocated for administration 357.7 million, which is an increase of 5.6% from last year's allocation. We have also been allocated more than 1.8 billion for curriculum policy support and monitoring, which is an increase of 3% from last year's allocation. On teacher education, on human resources and institutional development, the allocation is more than 1.7 billion, which is a decrease, unfortunately, by 0.6%, which then puts us at 1.6 billion for the current year. The planning, information, and assessment has been allocated 12.1 billion, which is an increment of 3.1, and the allocation for this program is estimated at 13.3 billion, respectively and finally. And the education enrichment service was allocated 5.9 billion, more than 5.9 billion, which is an increase of 5.3 billion for 2016-2017, and it has increased to 6.2 billion. And the allocation for this program is estimated at 6.6 billion, respectively. And the conditional grants, Madam Chair, I reported that a new conditional grant, namely Maths, Science and Technology, intended to promote the teaching and learning of maths.
1 minute.
Oh. Can I use 3 minutes from my closing remarks?
Yes.
Okay. So the 2015 allocation of the MST grant stood at 1.1 billion. It has been increased to 1.6 billion. And the MST grant will continue to strengthen the implementation of the National Development Plan, Action Plan. On infrastructure, Madam Speaker, we have been, the MTF period continues to be funded through the Education Infrastructure Grant, and it is funded to the total of 38.2 billion. And the delivery of school infrastructure projects are funded through ASIDI. We have also been allocated 230 million for HIV and AIDS programs, and the National School Nutrition Program has been allocated 18.9 billion, and currently this program benefits 9 million learners in the sector. For Funza Lusaka, Chair, we have been allocated 1.4 billion, which is an increase of 5.3, which will put us at 1.1 billion. And Umalusi has been allocated more than 118 million, and the mass literacy, which is in its final year, has been allocated 450 million, and the extended public works will give unemployed youth people, young people, 68.5 million. We also, as I say, have added also program for the second chance, and we've allocated 150 million for it. We've allocated, for instance, 72.1 million for a partnership with the public sector through the NECT. And for our workbooks, we have been allocated 1.8 billion for this year. And Chair, as I close, before I conclude, I think allow me to appraise the House about the ministerial task team report on the alleged sale of educators' posts. Last year, I did report to this August House that I had appointed a ministerial task team to investigate the alleged selling of educator posts by certain teacher unions, provincial department officials, including SGBs. Subsequent to the council, so what I have to say, during the consultation, this was done after representation had been made to the task team, and during the consultation, stakeholders did request an extension of the release of the report to allow them time to refine their inputs, but to also be given an opportunity to make oral representations to the ministerial task team, and that has been allowed, and that's the advice we got from our lawyers, that we have the responsibility to ensure that all people cited have the opportunity to answer to the allegations made against them. And as a result, I've allowed the ministerial task team and the respective parties another 14 days, which delays the reporting much later, but it's an advice we got from our council, and we're following advice from council, not cowing down to any other pressure that we might be suspected to have. So, Chair, because I've run out of time, let me give my thanks to the team led by the DG, that Emwell, and all the managers behind, my colleague who works very hard and works very well with me, Deputy Minister Enver, the chairperson and the portfolio committee for the guidance. Thank you very much for the ongoing support and guidance that we get. But MECs and HODs from provinces, I want to thank them most sincerely. Thank the teachers, principal and parents, and learners and SGBs who are always there to support us as a sector. And most important, thank my family, including my mother up there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As you are uploading, you are welcome, our guests. And the learners up there, you are very welcome. The unfortunate thing is that the rules of this house do not allow you to participate, meaning you can't clap. It's one of those things, unfortunately. But you are highly welcome. Thank you very much. We now call on the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Education, Honorable Gina.
House Chair, Minister of Basic Education, Mayor Matsekga, Deputy Minister, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers that are present, MECs of Education that are present, DG and the senior officials of the department, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, honorable members of the House, South Africans, our beautiful learners up there, I greet you all. Honorable Chairperson, it is always a pleasure to be part of the budget vote where the Department of Basic Education is provided an opportunity to present to Parliament how it will ensure that quality basic education is realized. Though in that context, again, as the Minister has touched on this, as a Portfolio Committee, we condemn with sadness the use of violence that threaten the culture of teaching and learning, especially that is taking place in Vuwan in Limpopo province. This has unfortunately led to many, among others, an arson attack of more than 22 schools in Vuwan in Limpopo. And really, as the Portfolio Committee, we are saying such protests are not acceptable because at the end of the day, the learners are at the receiving end, and they are being at a disadvantage of the opportunities to learn and to make sure that by that learning, they free themselves from the shackles of poverty. ANC, umhlola uyakhuzwa lento eyenzeka kulezi indawo nesikubona kwenzeka kuqhubeka nakwezinye indawo ukuthi ezemfundo ukushiswa kwezikole nokumiswa kwezikole kube ikona la abantu befinyelela khona kalula ukuze izikhalo zabo idluliselwe sithi cha akuphunywe ikhuzo imhlola yikho sibonga kakhulu uhulumeni kanye nabaholi the traditional leaders eindaweni ukuthi basukume bakhuze lo mhlolo ukuze ixazululo isheshe ifikeleke ezemfundo zikwazi ukukhululeka. The budget vote debate process is an additional process over and above our portfolio committee meetings and oversight that assist Parliament to hold the department to scrutiny. We stand here to exercise our role of holding the department to account. We are one of the committees that are consistent in exercising our oversight responsibility to the department. Emanating from our portfolio committee meetings, which are held almost every Tuesday, I've got few points to share with you. Firstly, we dare not forget that through our government, in 1990, we had 191,000 metric passes, but by 2015, the number has more than doubled to 465,863. Again, we dare not forget the efforts that had been made to increase the standard of question papers in order to bring quality passes and standards. We dare not forget again the plans to upscale the qualifications of at least 12,000 practitioners that have been prioritized by this department. We dare not forget again the plans to extend the resources of 1,000 libraries each year over the next 3 years, and we are very happy to say the department has already outshined that target that is linked to Read to Learn, to Read to Lead campaign. Again, we dare not forget the department's plan to continue to provide ICT connectivity to all schools by the year 2020. Looking again, we cannot forget the plans to continue with the provision of inclusive education and curriculum differentiation. We appreciate the opportunities the Second Chance program will offer to our learners and the good change that Progress Learners policy will bring about. The process of merging some conditional grants and discontinuing of others is a sign of continued planning that we see in the department and the interventions that drive improved quality basic education, particularly on the Math, Science and Technology grant, and the planned expansion of 1+4 intervention model to grade 7 by 2017, and the planned intervention to address the low levels of teacher competency, especially in maths and science. Honorable Chairperson, allow me again to borrow from one of the Africa's illustrious novelists, Chinua Achebe, when he said, I open quote, "One of the truest tests of integrity is its blunt refusal to be compromised." To be compromised. Let me repeat again so that everyone can hear. We stand resolute and poised to defend the integrity and the nature of all the achievements we have recorded to all children across all races and poverty lines in the past years. We will continue to do robust oversight so that the integrity of our education system is not compromised. Chairperson, it is our view that education, the allocation to vote 14 of basic education presented to the Portfolio Committee of 22.2 billion is meant to further expand quality learning opportunities to our learners, to defend the integrity and nature of all achievements we have recorded over years. Further, it is a budget that seeks to address the challenges that remain so that our education system is not compromised. The challenges that remain are surmountable compared to the gains that we have made. We note that the allocation will increase to 24.8 billion over the MTEF as a continued effort by our government to open doors of learning for all. Providing learning opportunities to our learners, intensify the ANC's priority of reducing poverty and to address social challenges within the communities. The department indicated that the budget is allocated to, among other things, to focus on basic education priorities as outlined in the NDP and identified in the non-negotiables. These, amongst others, will include the continuous endeavor to improve curriculum delivery, ensure the adequate supply of quality teachers, assessing the quality of teaching and learning, provide comprehensive support on holistic development of young children through ECD programs, provide well-equipped libraries and promote reading, and intensify the ICT programs and school connectivity, and to improve the literacy, numeracy, mathematics, and science outcomes. Looking at the budget, we note that out of the 22.2 billion allocated, 16.2, that is 72.8% of that budget, which is a sizable portion of the budget, is allocated to the conditional grants which are administered by the provinces. This means that the delivery of education must be viewed in the context of concurrent functions as outlined in Schedule 4 of the Constitution. In concurrent function, the national government pursues policies and ensure uniform delivery on basic education while the provincial departments implement such policies. We have, however, noted disparities in provincial delivery and policies accompanied by varied audit opinions of the provinces. This is worrying considering that some provinces perpetually continue to receive poor audit outcomes, opinions, and demonstrate persistent inefficiencies and lack of accountability. Therefore, provincial policy implementation, financial planning, provincial budget monitoring are important and must be strengthened by the department. We are encouraged by the department in enforcing the adherence to the national norms and standards for school funding policy, where the National Department of Basic Education will make follow-ups with the relevant provincial department education quarterly in order to improve audit outcomes and ensure that schools are funded at a required minimal level. We take appreciation that while we have noted that the indicators have developed to measure and report mainly in the DBE-driven initiatives based on DBE budget, but that will not, however, exempt DBE from playing the role of oversight and monitoring the provincial education department as one of the key mandates in terms of the National Education Policy Act, the NEPA. Ngokubona-ke lezi zinto sihlalo, portfolio committee sibize wonke sibe nomhlangano omkhulu la sibize sikhona zonke izifundazwe ezisishagalolunye kanye nomnyango wezemfundo sahlala phansi ndawonye sixoxisana ngalezi zinselelo ezithinta umkhakha wezemfundo lapho sabelene khona ngolwazi abanalo ukuze sibhekane nezinselelo ezibhekene nemfundo. Siyathanda ukubika ukuthi lo mhlangano ube impumelelo enkulu owenze ukuthi portfolio committee ikwazi ukuqonda kabanzi ifinyelele ixoxa nezifundazwe ukuthi ikuphi la ingqinamba ingaxazuleka khona. And sihlangene lo mhlangano sikwazile ukuthi izifundazwe zonke zethule ucwaningo olujulile lwezinselelo kanti futhi nekomiti liqinisekisiwe ukuthi ukusebenza okulindekekile kuzoqhubeka ngendlela efanele kuleli komiti. Chairperson, curriculum delivery in schools, support to curriculum delivery and monitoring need to be strengthened. We note that curriculum delivery program is allocated 1.9 billion with 1.3 billion of the allocation going to the curriculum and quality enhancement program. The findings during the committee oversight to KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape drew attention to some challenges and the shortcomings in the system. Some of them are operational and some structural in terms of curriculum delivery and quality. In most schools visited, there were clear indications that schools do not complete or cover the full syllabus. There was no evidence of curriculum monitoring by circuit manager and district officials due to the lack of human resource monitoring plan, some principal consistent to poor quality of school-based assessment. The main concern was that teachers were unable to set appropriate cognitive level questions to assess learners due to the lack of knowledge and understanding of SBA and support and monitoring. Our view is that progress in this regard is hampered by the capacity of the district to support the schools. In some districts, officials were surprised by the challenges in school at the same time as the portfolio committee. We are pleased that there are plans to review Chapter 4 of CAPS in order to strengthen school-based assessment as well and expand implementation of in-school monitoring and support model. We support this budget because the department presented before us a rigorous plan to change the situation around in terms of SBA. The budget allocation this year further exalts the committee and the commitment of the ANC-led government to educating and skilling our children. The introduction of the three-stream model responds to the ANC Mangaung deliberations that encourage the exploration of the model that was established the curriculum for the technical schools. The NDP recorded that the different parts of the work of education system should work together, allowing learners to take different pathways that offer different avenues that offer high-quality learning opportunity. Further, the NDP draws attention to the need for urgently mediating the high dropout rate of learners through basic schooling system by increasing learner retention to 90% and allowing for an increase on number of learners entering vocational and occupational pathways. This was indeed one of the huge gaps in the system, particularly because it affected learners, more especially those with special education needs. While the level of access to education show great achievement, the ANC in particular entrenching more effort in improving quality basic education and increasing access to learners with special needs in education. For us to bridge this gap of quality education, we need to start to address the issues of access to education of all learners with special needs and improve curriculum delivery. And that is one way and one of the areas that as a portfolio committee we have engaged the department on, and we are pleased to say, as the portfolio committee, it's one area where we have even opened up the platform for all the NGOs and the stakeholders that have got interest in education, more especially interest on special education, where we had good deliberations, where we advised the department of what is it that can be done moving forward. And we hope and believe that that gap that is still remaining, but the department is working very hard on, it's one of the gaps that is going to be closed very soon. Chairperson, we are pleased that the department is taking radical and bold steps to bring about change in this matter by, among other things, develop a collaborative action plan that will cater for more than 600,000 out-of-school children with disability, strengthen capacity of curriculum in order to support schools for the deaf, and continue to train all the teachers in the sector to implement the screening, identification, assessment, and support policy that is normally known as SEARS, and the curriculum differentiation. The Teacher Education Human Resource is a program that is allocated 1.1 billion, of which 1 billion is allocated to education human resource development. Teacher education and development programs are directly required in the sector. Chairperson, we advise the department that there is a need for a serious translation of the integrated strategy planning framework for teacher development. We support this allocation because we are of the view that it will assist in helping teachers develop better ways of delivering curriculum. And 1 minute, thank you so much. Slalo. Chairperson, on our oversight, we always come across the need for teacher development and also making sure that teachers do respect the work, the triple T's that they must be at school and at all times. And we really urge the department to make sure that that one is not compromised at all. Therefore, 2016-17 budget vote sets a high-paced progress in addressing the challenges, and this budget we need to support so that we overcome those challenges. The ANC supports the budget vote. Honorable Chair, although we note that there continue to be challenges along the way, our flames of progress and commitment to up the standard will blind the cynics and the doomsayers, as they are always there.
Thank you
Honorable
very much.
Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister,
Thank you.
we thank you for the continued
Time
support
is
and
up.
the accountability that you always show to the
Thank you
community.
very much.
ANC supports the budget vote. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Honorable Davis.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Let me begin by offering our thoughts to the children of Vuwani in Limpopo, where 24 schools were burned to the ground in the last week. Whichever way you look at it, these acts of vandalism have set us back in our task of redressing the legacy of unequal education in our country. And today I want to discuss this legacy of inequality, starting at the very root of it. In 1953, Hendrik Verwoerd introduced the reprehensible policy of Bantu education. This policy limited the educational opportunities of black South Africans to ensure a steady supply of cheap, unskilled and semi-skilled labor.
Order, honorable members.
13 years later, in this very chamber, Verwoerd was stabbed to death by a parliamentary support officer. And there was nothing tragic about this. The only tragic thing about that day was that Verwoerd's policies did not die with him. Indeed, Verwoerd's ghost haunts us in this chamber today. Because the reality is, the chances of a poor black child getting a decent education in a democratic South Africa are still very, very remote. And
Order, honorable members. Order.
And the uncomfortable truth, Honourable Chairperson, is that the gap in our education system, despite what the Minister says, is getting wider. Just look at the facts. In schools in the most affluent areas, what are called quintile 5 schools, the matric pass rate has remained steady at around 90% over the past 3 years. But in schools in the poorest areas, the quintile 1 schools, the matric pass rate has dropped from 70% to 61% in the last 3 years. And in these schools, the physical science pass rate has dropped from 60% to 49%, and the mathematics pass rate has dropped from 48% to 36%. So what is going wrong? It is not a question of funding. This budget stands at 219 billion rand, which is almost 1/5 of the national budget. And quite correctly, the state spends 6 times more on poor learners than it does on learners in more affluent areas. So how is it that 2 decades into our democracy, poor black children are falling behind? The answer lies in the quality and the quantity of teaching. Because the truth is that for every excellent and dedicated teacher in a disadvantaged school, there are many more who can't teach and many more who won't teach. And this problem will not go away until we break the SAD2 protection racket that shields underperforming teachers from accountability. We therefore welcome the Minister's plan to license and professionalize teaching, but we know that SAD2 will try and block this proposal. We trust, Minister, that you will have the courage to follow through with this plan despite what SAD2 says. And in this regard, we are disappointed that on Friday, the Minister buckled under SAD2 pressure and postponed yet again the release of the Jobs for Cash report. If it ever sees the light of day, this report will show that SAD2 has captured 6 out of 9 provincial education departments. We just hope that Minister Motshekga's failure to release it doesn't mean that she has been captured by SAD2 as well. Honourable Chairperson, today Minister Motshekga mentioned her department's proposal for a 3...
Order, honorable members. Honorable Davis, please wait. Honorable members, order, order, honorable members. You cannot, honorable members, you cannot make such a lot of noise about the pronunciation. Please, don't do that. Continue, honorable member.
Today, Minister Motshekga mentioned her department's proposal for a 3-stream system made up of an academic stream, a technical stream, and an occupational stream. In principle, we support the introduction of technical and occupational education for learners who do not have the aptitude to cope in the traditional academic stream. We must be wary, however, of the Minister's target to offer 60% of all learners occupational subjects like hairdressing, beauty care, nail technology, upholstery, and bricklaying by 2030. Because we know that weak schools will be under huge pressure to push failing learners into the occupational stream, even if these learners could have coped in an academic stream had they received better schooling. Take Kwabamu Junior Secondary in Zululand, for example. All 37 learners at this school failed matric last year. All 37 learners. That's a 0% pass rate. These learners didn't fail because they were in the wrong stream. They failed because the school system failed them. Honourable Chairperson,
1 minute.
The policy of Bantu education was reprehensible because it limited the educational opportunities of poor black learners. We must make sure that this 3-stream approach announced by the Minister does not do the same. On that note, we would also like to warn Minister Motshekga against taking another backward step, and that is the dilution of school governing bodies' powers as contemplated in the draft Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill. School governing bodies give communities a voice in how schools are run. They are the difference between a public school system in a democracy and a state school system in an authoritarian regime like apartheid. Honourable Chairperson, we cannot redress the legacy of the past by mimicking the past. we must guard against the return of Bantu education, and we must never go back to the state school system of the apartheid era. The only way to exorcise Vavut's ghost is by improving the quality and quantity of teaching in disadvantaged schools.
Thank you very much.
So let us move forward with boldness and courage, and
Thank
let us
you.
break SAT2's stranglehold on our public education
Thank
system.
you, Honorable
I thank
Davis. Thank you very much. Sebui se se latelang ke Motlhomphegi Matloko. Order, honorable
Chairperson-
members.
Chairperson,
Order.
the economic freedom fighters reject this budget. I will tell you why. I will tell you why.
Order.
Firstly, the Portfolio Committee on Basic Education and the National Assembly both have failed in their constitutional duty to hold the executive to account. The Minister of Basic
Order,
Education
honorable members.
has napped Parliament for too long, with no action taken against her. She has plainly refused to come to account for her department's action. And she refuses to come and answer questions in the National Assembly.
Order, honorable members.
Secondly, what we have seen over the past 22 years is the unabated continuation of her Verwoerd education system. With the quality of education made available to poor black children vastly inferior to that made available to rich white kids. Shame, ANC. It even took a Supreme Court of Appeals judgment to force the department to deliver books to schools in Limpopo, and another court judgment to force the department to make teachers available to poor schools in the Eastern Cape. How are children meant to learn freely when many of them do not have proper abolition facilities in schools? How is the government pursuing the stated objective of knowledge creation if 22,938 schools do not have stock libraries, while 19,541 do not even have a space for a library? What kind of caring government that requires multiple petitions, letter writing, marches to Parliament, and finally litigation just to agree to create safe, healthy, and learner-friendly environment in schools? This department has also allowed itself to be hijacked by their corrupt allies in SATU, who have practically taken over responsibility of hiring and firing teachers in KwaZulu-Natal. This is what education provision has come to mean for the ANC. A result of poor state of education, primarily the poorest parts of the country, has led disparate parents to look for education for their kids in more affluent provinces, stretching the capacity of those provinces to provide proper quality education. The 22.3 billion the department is getting for the 2016-2017 financial year is not geared towards any significant and qualitative transformation of the basic education sector.
1 minute.
It does nothing to reduce the basic education center to ensure, amongst other things, that the country stop the massive dropout rate between grade 1 and grade 12, which has led to only half the number of students who enter grade 1 sitting for their grade 12 examination. When the EFF takes over government, we shall completely reorient the education system to ensure that our focus is not only on matric pass rate, but on the entire education system. When we take over municipalities, we will make sure that we refurbish community halls and resources, then to make them centers of learning for students who have no access to libraries and the internet.
Thank you very much, Honorable
The ANC and the DA both fall far too short for appreciating the challenges of basic education.
Order, honorable members, order. The next order, honorable members. Isikhulumi esilandelayo umhlonishwa Singh. Order, honorable members. Can we hear the speaker out?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. At the outset, let me say I am presenting these inputs on behalf of Honorable Msimang, who is indisposed and who serves on this committee, and on behalf of the IFP. Firstly, we must say as the IFP how dismayed we are at the recent wanton destruction of schools in the area of Vuwani in Limpopo. This is reminiscent of the pre-democracy slogan and rallying crying of the ruling party, liberation before education. The IFP has always, even during that time, championed the slogan, education for liberation. And we say so even today, even though we've got political liberation, because economic liberation still eludes many of our people. Schools destroyed, our children's futures destroyed. Secondly, Honorable Chairperson, when the Department of Basic Education became a standalone department de-linked from higher education and training in 2009, the purpose was to enable it to focus exclusively on the improvement of quality of basic education in this country. A substantially large budget allocation of about 5% of the GDP to basic education as against 1.4% allocated to Minister Nzimande is a further indication that this sector has been made the apex educational priority in the government's program. Some 6 years down the line now, we must reflect and ascertain whether the outcomes achieved match the amount of the investment. We should use as a benchmark the quality of the examination results, particularly at national senior certificate level, as well as the level of productivity by its graduates and professionals in the socio-economic milieu. In passing, however, Chairperson, the IFP notes the strides that have been made in the area of early childhood development, national school nutrition program, and an increasing number of no-fees paying schools. We welcome these. However, when we look at the examination results, it does not speak well of the department, not only at the national level, but at provincial level, especially where the rural provinces of Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Limpopo are concerned. Admittedly, there are several schools, even in these provinces, which have always stood out as shining examples of excellence with their commendable results, and many of them are in rural areas. But these are the exceptions rather than the rule. So, Honorable Chairperson, it begs the question, what went wrong and what is going wrong? There are many causes such as lack of infrastructure and unsatisfactory provision of learning and teaching materials, which we accept. But let me focus on the quality of the relevant teachers. Many of our teachers have not been adequately reskilled and inducted to cope with the incessant revisions of the curriculum, which culminated recently in CAPS. Many teachers who were sure that grade 12 results by their pupils were going to expose and embarrass them turned to unethical tactics, and some of the governing body members were complicit in this. They became complicit in the leaking of examination papers, leading to large-scale group copying in 2014. This was a great embarrassment to the department in particular and the country in general. When the Amalusi Council introduced stringent checks and balances to prevent group copying, these teachers found themselves at wits' ends. Their learners failed in large numbers in 2015. The worst outcome is that some 22 schools achieved a 0% pass rate at grade 12 level. This is simply unacceptable. Moreover, there are some teachers who make sure that subjects like technology, maths, or sciences are not taught in the schools. And this does the learners a huge disservice because these subjects are essential at university level and are imperative to enable our children to be functional. Needless to say, a lot still needs to be done in the area of promotion and development of our teachers. We will support this budget vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable Mabika.
House Chair, basic education in South Africa is not performing as well as it could be expected. Our matric rate dropped from 75.8 in 2014 to 70.3 in 2015, with a substantial variation across the 9 provinces. This variation tells us that some provincial departments have a lot to account for, but we have yet to see one MEC take responsibility for dismal performances, particularly in the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and KwaZulu-Natal, where performance is significantly lower than the national average. Lento ka MEC wase KZN yokuthi izingane ifeliswa ukuthi nayo uyafunda is not reason enough. Futhi ayiphele lento ukuthi izingane mase zifelisiwe sitshela ukuthi zifele ngoba exam ibilikhuni. Sibe singakaze sitshela ukuthi maziphasile ziphasa ngoba examination kade ilula. The NFP is also concerned about the issue of SATU being allowed to behave as an employer in schools in the recent jobs for cash scandal, which has rocked the Department of Education. We urge the Honorable Minister to release the MTT report as a matter of priority in the interest of transparency and accountability, even if it means soaring relations with a subsidiary of ANC's alliance partner. South Africans need to know who are in control of employment in our schools, the department or SATU. We still wonder how much was misused on honor that was rejected by unions last year. We note that approval that a significant proportion of department's budget is allocated to Program 4, which includes schools' infrastructure delivery program. We are also reminded that the Honorable Minister has announced on previous occasions that she will be opening a school every week in the Eastern Cape. The NFP wishes to know how far the program has gone and how many schools have since been opened. Another area of concern to the NFP is the issue of corruption and lack of transparency in the awarding of nutrition tenders by district officials. An example is the recent closing in April of 8 schools in Umtshezi in KwaZulu-Natal. The parents objected the service providers of the school feeding schemes, which were awarded contracts at district level, ignoring local service providers. We fully support school nutrition schemes where preference is given to local service providers, in particular cultivators of local community gardens and cooperatives which benefit women and youth. Finally, the NFP reiterates its call that we urgently need dedicated teachers' colleges to be established.
1 minute.
The quality of our basic education is being compromised by insufficient trained teachers as much as it compromised by overcrowding, lack of infrastructure, sports and science facilities, and general lack of efficient government management of the system. The sooner we can get properly trained teachers back in classrooms, the sooner we will be able to tackle the other pressing needs. Your 10 days statistics minister is just useless as schools continue to get allocations based on previous enrollments, which is problematic to the growing schools. With all those, Chairperson, the NFP supports the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now call on the Deputy Minister of Education, Honorable Silke, to take the debate forward.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister of Basic Education, Minister Naledi Pandor, Minister of Science and Technology, Minister Bladen Zimande, Minister of Higher Education and Training. I'm indeed heartened, and other ministers who are here and esteemed members, I'm indeed heartened to see both Minister Nzimande and Minister Pandor to be here, because this year we celebrate 20 years of the adoption of our Constitution. And indeed, if we speak about the founding fathers and mothers of the Constitution, we could say that 2 of them are seated here, and I've had the pleasure of working with them in this very, very chamber when we discuss the challenges with regard to the achievement of equality and freedom. As we do so, we also reflect on the enormous contribution by Dean Smuts, a member of great intellectual capacity, who would also shared with us and certainly involved with us in very robust debates with regard to the finalization of the Bill of Rights. Honorable Chairperson, this is also the 60th anniversary of the march of our brave women from all corners of the country who fought for the freedom and liberation of our country and who said away with the Dompas. I could quote from Lillian Ngoyi, I could have quoted from Sophie de Bruyn or Rahima Musa, but I would like to draw the attention of the Honorable House to the first words spoken by Nelson Mandela on the 24th of May 1994, and he had the following to say: "The time will come when our nation will honor the memory of all the sons and daughters, the mothers, the fathers, the youth, and the children who by their thoughts and deeds gave us the right to assert with pride that we are South Africans, we are Africans, and we are citizens of the world." And indeed, as he did so, he reflected on the incredible contribution of an Afrikaner poet and an Afrikaner activist who gave up her life for our freedom and equality. She was Ingrid Jonker. And she had the following to say, and he quoted her in his speech: "The child is not dead. The child lifts his fists against his mother who shouts, 'Africa.' The child is not dead, not at Langa, not at Nyanga, not at Orlando, not at Chapo, not at the police post at Philippi, where he lies with a bullet through his brain. The child is present at all assemblies and law-giving. The child peers through the windows of houses and into the hearts of mothers. This child, who only wanted to play in the sun in Nyanga, is everywhere. The child, grown to a man, treks on through all Africa, and the child, grown to a giant, journeys over the world without a pass." That Dom pass, that atrocious piece that we had to carry out, and that was what the struggle for freedom and liberation was. But in 1996, we had an extraordinary situation where we had to appoint the Chief Justice in South Africa, and because of a vacancy. 100 white judges protested against the appointment of the silver-tongued orator, the deep intellect Chief Justice Ismail Mohammed, the first Chief Justice in the country. And quite incredibly, all the judges of the Supreme Court of Appeal opposed his appointment, notwithstanding his incredible record. And for the information of colleagues, particularly those who raise the issues of equality and inequity, we want to draw your attention to the fact that in 1957, when he was admitted as an advocate, he was not allowed to occupy chambers, had to borrow the desk of colleagues for 12 continuous years. And 5 years thereafter, he was not, after achieving silk, he was not allowed to use the common room of the chambers in Johannesburg, where liberal lawyers practice. And yet when he was nominated as a result of his incredible intellectual depth and jurisprudence, it was 100 white judges that had opposed his application. But it is through the able leadership of Chief Justice Ismail Mohammed, Arthur Chaskelson, Pius Langa, that we were able to transform the judiciary. And I want you to hear and listen to the pain when he reflects on this matter, and I quote: "There is nostalgia and satisfaction, even pride in the recall, but also so much pain and shame, richness and fulfillment, but also humiliation and indignity, all strangely coalescing in a dance culminating in some perceptions with a vindicating crescendo. The pain and the humiliation were intense. My status was determined by reference not to what I was, but what I was not. I was non-white. It set and imposes on me a badge of inferiority sought to be written on my forehead. Its dominant consequences manifested itself in rejection and exclusion. These exclusions inflicted deep wounds inside me, often revive in a telling with a special kind of pain, but without bitterness." Unquote. Honorable Chairperson, I raise this in the context of the fact that it is, notwithstanding the efforts at transformation, notwithstanding the incredible leadership that we've had in this country, we find a situation where a sitting judge named Marble Johnson portrays the blacks in a particularly negative way. And he says, I still have to meet a black girl who was not raped when she was about 12. She says, mothers are so brainwashed that they tell their children that it is the father's birthright to be first. She says, and gang rapes of babies, daughters, and a mother is a pleasurable pastime for blacks. That is the view of a sitting judge. And what we are saying to you, honorable chair members, is that the point here is that the issue of racism is not something that has to be forgotten. It is about the dignity of our people, the dignity that we work so hard for, and it's the dignity that we should be committed to. And indeed, if you think that there is an exception, we just have to look at the week before, when a gentleman basically used the K word because he was disgruntled and disappointed about the transformation statement that was made by the Minister of Sport and Agriculture. Yes, indeed, they had apologized. Yes, indeed, they said they were quoted out of context. But the words speak for themselves and says that we have to confront this demon of racism. Now, the narrative that we hear, and we often hear, and I want the EFF to listen to this, to say that we have not changed. Today in South Africa, 8 out of 10 children go to no-fee schools. They don't have to pay a cent. Today in South Africa, 55,000 workbooks are delivered free of charge to every child, black and white, quintile 1 to quintile 5. Today in South Africa, more than 10 million children are fed every day a nutritious meal, free of charge. Today in South Africa, more than 50,000 extra learners had written matric last year than the year before. Today in South Africa, more than 80,000 bachelor's classes were produced by quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools. Today in South Africa, we can say last year we had 10,000 more learners that passed mathematics. We can say last year we had 10,000 more learners that passed science. And indeed, the challenge is great. Indeed, the honorable member of the EFF, and I wish he would attend meetings of the portfolio committee, will know that today in South Africa, more than 92% of our children have received at least 1 year of preschool learning. Today in South Africa, every child, black and white, receives every child, black and white, receives 4 books free of charge delivered to him and her. Today in South Africa, we can pronounce with certainty and empirically and scientifically that in the past 3 years, indeed, our learners have improved year after year in terms of literacy and numeracy. And what the minister is indicating to you in the preliminary report is that, astoundingly, much to the disbelief of our opponents, we have indeed gone beyond the mean of achievement of 500 marks. That is something that we should celebrate. Yes, challenges abound. We certainly have challenges with regard to infrastructure, but just through the RCD program, we were able to deliver more than 38 schools. That means that the average of a school per week was indeed fulfilled. But if we take into account also the contribution of provinces who are responsible for infrastructure, in the past 5 years, we have delivered 641 state-of-the-art schools. That is indeed an achievement. We recognize the value and importance of professional developments, Mr. Singh, of our educators. And certainly that is critical and central to the achievement of quality education. We now have a situation where we've established 147 teacher resource centers, 80 of which are fully connected. We have trained more than 25,000 principals and deputy principals in leadership and management. More than 1,000 special advisors have been trained, and more than 70,000 teachers have been trained in terms of teaching English as a first additional language, because language has indeed been a barrier. We continue this, recognizing that the challenges in education are enormous, but we recognize that we've overcome the challenges of access, that year after year we are improving in terms of quality. And indeed, the issues that confront KwaZulu-Natal, the Eastern Cape, are being dealt with. The minister herself has visited each of these provinces more than twice. And we recognize that we have to support and intervene, and indeed that is what the chairperson of the portfolio committee had said that we should do. Now, school safety is critical, and we have to create an environment that is conducive to learning and teaching. But we've ensured that we work with the Department of Police, with the South African Police Service, and then 17,325 schools have partnered with the South African Police Service for purposes of safety and security. As we move forward, we recognize the challenges abound. We will continue, and we must continue to do better. The story of the 21st century would be the story of ICT, the provision of technology. Very few of us are aware of the fact that our workbooks are all digitized, that grades 1, 2, and 3 are indeed interactive. We can share with you that 94 editions of senior high school have been digitized and are available to all our schools, that grades 10, 11, and 12 have mathematics, science, textbooks that have been digitized, and the intellectual property resides with the Department of Education. Every school across the country, grades 4, 5, and 6, are using digitized textbooks from the Department of Basic Education. It is our intention and hope that by the end of next year, every single subject across every single grade will have a common textbook, a minimum core textbook, so that we can say whether you have a cell phone, whether you have a smartphone, whether you have an iPad, whether you have a tablet, you are able to download this content free of charge. And in terms of our partnership, in terms of our partnership with the Vodacom and other partners, they are willing to host our education cloud so that when the data is downloaded, it would be free of charge. This means indeed that we are breaking into the 21st century, ensuring that we enhance technology as a critical and significant enabler. But how then do we deal with the issues, not of knowledge, not of skills, but of attitudes and values? It means that we have to confront the reality that faces our schools and our communities. We share this through our moot court competitions where we deal constantly with human rights. And we can celebrate the fact that our South African team, made up of blacks and whites, have won in The Hague the international competition in the moot court. That every year the finalists of our learners who participate in the moot court competition are able to do so with pride before judges in the Constitutional Court, and we thank the judiciary for making that possibility available to them. We recognize the fact that we are celebrating 40 years of the 1976 uprisings. And to do so, we've dedicated a heritage project in terms whereof we would ask our learners to examine the impact of Bantu education on our society and to interview and engage with those people who had participated in the 1976 uprising to show what the effect of imposing a language or providing inferior quality to our learners is. We are not suggesting at all that we've achieved parity. We are not suggesting at all that we've achieved or we have reached our destination. We are saying with strength, with conviction, and with resilience that an artist's journey has indeed begun. But we have a system of education that we can all collectively be proud of, to say that it is not the result of only the work of the Department of Basic Education, it is the work of all our social partners and those who believe that together we can do more. Honorable Chairperson, we want to say to you with regard to ICT that we've had an Operation Pakiza. And the Pakiza operation is a rapid results operation in terms of ICT. 6 years ago, in the Eastern Cape, only 18% of the schools were connected for administrative purposes with ICT. Today, we can celebrate the fact that 96% of the schools in the Eastern Cape have ICT connectivity. And we can celebrate the fact that 97% of our schools have ICT. We've established a database of more than 11,200,000 learners. And indeed, we want to make that active so that we would in real time be able to assess where the teachers are, what they're doing, what the curriculum coverage is. Honorable Chairperson, all this could not be achieved without the able leadership of our Minister, Minister Enzi Motshekga. We thank her for a robust leadership, her leadership with conviction. And I'm indeed honored that Honorable Naledi Pandor is here, because she had set down the foundations for early childhood development. I had the benefit of working with her too, and I want to tell her that what you are seeing here is indeed the fruits of the hard work that you've put into place. Honorable Nzimande is here, and we thank him for the collaboration that we've had in relation to the introduction of the vocational stream. Today we have a technical mathematics, a technical science, and thousands of our learners are able to go into the vocational stream. Next year they would choose both three streams, an academic stream, a vocational stream, and an occupational stream. The DG and his able team of men and women and the MEC of Gauteng, he is here. Power to ICT, power to the MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable
Thank you very much
Deputy
for the
Minister.
collaboration. Let me just conclude by saying the success of education, Honorable
Thank you.
Chairperson, is that we work not as political parties, but as a system of partners.
Thank you very much. We now call on Honorable Boshoff.
Honourable Chair, The National Department of Basic Education crows about its successes in meeting the Millennium Development Goal to primary education. But as I speak, close on 500,000 disabled children are denied access to any form of education. All learners, Honourable Minister, regardless of their physical, intellectual, social, or emotional condition, have the right to education, as this is a universal right, and education is the only vehicle to life outside of poverty. Inclusive education mandates that schools should accommodate all learners, but unfortunately, the current education system isolates many learners with special needs and disabilities due to the lack of sufficient schools, appropriately trained educators, and expense. As Minister, special needs schools are not quintiled. Madam Chair, the DBE has committed itself to the ideal of equal and inclusive education for all. It is a realizable right and may not be subject to limitations with regard to available sources. In 2005, the time frame for development of a single inclusive system of education was set for 20 years with certain key strategies. Honourable Minister, we are 11 years down the line and still the department is far from reaching their targets in this regard. The department must promote a sense of belonging so that all learners, staff and families experience a sense of worth in the learning community. All provincial education departments must have the capacity to respond to diversity by providing appropriate education for particular needs of each learner, irrespective of their disability or differences in learning, style or pace, or social difficulties experienced. Methods must be established to assist curriculum and institutional transformation to ensure an awareness of diversity. Additional support must be made available to every single learner that needs it, as well as educators. Resourcing, be it financial or otherwise, also needs to be looked into. It may no longer be allowed that schools catering only for learners without disabilities continue receiving the lion's share of the budget, and special needs schools be left with the crumbs. Honourable Minister, looking at the 2015 national matric results for learners with disabilities, it is absolutely clear that these learners are determined to prove their worth, even if they are at times neglected when it comes to sufficient books, educators, schools, braille machines, etc. Minister, by ratifying the Convention of Rights for People with Disabilities in 2007, you bound yourself to this when South Africa recognized the right of persons with disabilities to education.
Honourable Member, 1 minute left.
I urge you to ensure that more attention is paid to inclusive education and special need education. Learners with disabilities deserve the same freedom and the same fairness as those without. In order to realize this right without discrimination, an inclusive education system on all levels must be implemented. Chair, special needs education is definitely not a good story to tell. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member Boshoff. I will now call upon Honourable Member D.H. Khosa.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister, Deputy Minister, all Honourable Ministers present and Deputy Ministers, our guests in the gallery, the viewers at home, manene na manenekazi. Ngamisheweta hinkwenu, inhlikani lowunene, lochani, Rialocha, Madume, Sanbonani, Botan. Mtsamu wa xitulu I ntsako lowukulu eka mina ku yima emahlweni ka n'wina ku ta vulavula hi mpimanyeto ximali wa ndzawulo ya dyondzo ya le hansi. Xo sungula ndzi rhandza ku vulavula leswaku hi ri African National Congress hi pfumelelana na mpimanyeto lowu nga wona wu nga ta yisa tidyondzo ta vana va hina emahlweni. Ndzi pfumelele mutshami wa xitulu ku vula leswaku dyondzo I xitlhangu xa vutomi. Ehandle ka dyondzo munhu a nge swi koti ku hlula ndlala ni vusweti. Hikwalaho hi ri African National Congress hi pfumelelana na mpimanyeto lowu wa ndzawulo ya tidyondzo ta le hansi ta 2016-17. Hi ni ntshembo leswaku hi mpimanyeto lowu migingiriko na tiprojeke hinkwato leti kunguhatiweke ti ta fikeleriwa. Mutshami wa xitulu wa swi tiva swa ku hi Freedom Charter yi hlamuserile leswaku minyangwa ya dyondzo yi ta pfumeleriwa un'wana ni un'wana ku hambana na leswi a swi vula hi murhangeri wa valungu loyi a tshama exitulwini lexi va ku I Fairwood. Chairperson, in the 5th democratic government, we have noted as the ANC that skills, knowledge, education are very important to every member of the society to realize and participate in the social and economic life. While we acknowledge that education plays a crucial role in freeing our people socially and economically, the reality is that social and economic burdens remain the obstacle to the attainment of the better life of all our people. Mutshami wa xitulu a swi va oloveli vana va hina lava humaka evuswetini ku ti lulamisela vumundzuku lebyinene leswaku va ta humelela hikwalaho ko pfumala dyondzo. Hikwalaho hi vona swi fanerile leswaku mfumo lowu rhangeleke hi vandla ra African National Congress wu fanekele ku lwa hi matimba ku vona leswaku vana va fikelela dyondzo leyi antswaka leswaku na vona va ta hoxa xandla eka ikhonomi ya tiko ra vona. Chairperson, it's an open secret that the high prevalent socio-economic challenges confronting the majority of our learners are poverty, wellness, health and nutrition. These include barriers to learning and inclusivity, safety and the lack of care and support for the learners. These issues, Chairperson, have strong potential of hampering access to education and further to compromise the quality of our education. The most worrying factor is that these challenges have a strong potential of eroding the gains in the learner retention and contribute to the high dropout rates. Therefore, there cannot be a better way to address poverty alleviation and improve the health of our children other than through ensuring that children in school are assisted. That is why, Chairperson, dealing with these challenges created by apartheid, the challenge of poverty, inequality and unemployment has been a priority to the caring ANC-led government. And we believe as ANC that such will go a long way in addressing the right to education and realizing the quality education which the DA do not want to see happening. Mutshami wa xitulu, nhlangano wa African National Congress wu tiyimisela ku lwa na vusweti nakambe mbuyelo wa kona wa vonakala kusukela hi sungurile mfumo wa xidemokirasi hi 1994. Na mavandla yo kaneta loko karhi wa vona kwahala ka voko ra ximatsi mutshami wa xitulu va swi vona hambi loko va ringeta ku honisa. Eka lembe ximali ra 2016-17 nongonoko wa mphakelo wa swakudya exikolweni wu nyikiwe mpimanyeto wo ringana 6.29 billion leyi engeteriweke kusuka eka 5.97 billion. A mi tshame mi swi vona kwihi eka mfumo wa xihlawuhlawu xana? A swi nga ri kona ene a swi nga ta va kona loko wo rhangela hi vandla leri nga tshama hala ka ximatsi. Mi nga endli xihoxo ku va hlawula a va mi lavi nakatsongo. Hina va ANC ha tinyungubyisa swinene hi leswi endleriwaka vana va hina exikolweni hikuva va kuma swakudya, va kota ku endla mintirho ya xikolo va xurhile, va languteriwa ne le tlhelweni ra mavabyi, va kuma tibuku mahala, va na mabazi ya ku va rhwala ya va yisa exikolweni. Leswi mina loko ha dyondza xikolo at the age of 7 an famba 15 kilometers. Emilenge nga dogang natin tangu. Aba hakeli nchumu loko va dyondza exikolweni swi endliwa mahala eka vandla ra ku rhangela ANC. Vatswari va vana va xavisela swikolo matsavu kambe van'wani va kota ku pfuneta ku swekela vana va vona va tlhela va hakeriwa. Leswi hi swin'wana leswi endlaka leswaku hi ri vandla ra ANC hi ringeta ku kota ku lwa na vusweti swi tlhela swi endla leswaku vaaki va kota ku hoxa xandla eka ikhonomi ya tiko ra hina. Mutshami wa xitulu, mphakelo wa swakudya eka vana wu ndlandlamukile ku fikela eka vana lava swikolo swa le henhla ti-secondary schools. Hikuva hi ri vandla ra ANC ha kota ku swi vona ku ndlala a yi khomi vana lava va nga eka swikolo swa le hansi ntsena. Hikwalaho hi rhandza no ndhundhuzela ndzawulo ya dyondzo eka goza leri va ri tekeke eka ntirho lowo saseka swonghasi. Hi rhandza ku khensa ntirhisano exikarhi ka ndzawulo ya dyondzo na ya vutleketli eka ku khomisana ka vona entirhweni wo heleketa vana eswikolweni. Hambiloko eka ti-province tin'wana swi vona swi koho swirhandzakanyi leswi hi ri vandla ra ANC hi nga tivaka swa ku hi ta swi lulamisa hi ku ya ka nkarhi. Mutshami wa xitulu, nhlangano wa ANC wu tibohile leswaku ku va ni dyondzo ya mahala ku pfuna vana hinkwavo hi tlhela hi tiboha ku engetela nhlayo ya swikolo leswi nga hakeliki, no fee schools. The ANC plays support for the eradication of adult illiteracy. It is by no surprise that the department is committed to reduce the number of illiteracy adults by 4.7 million through Karigude mass literacy campaign by 2017. The program has already reached 3.9 million as I'm speaking today, at the cost of 2.97 billion since the inception in 2008. This program plans, Chairperson, to enroll 10,000 and 30,000 learners by 2018-19 at the cost of 5 million. Siyathuba. Mutshami wa xitulu, ni lava ku rhanga ni heta hi ku vula leswaku n'wina hinkwenu kwale kaya eMkhuhlu, eGoromani, eMtuvatuva, eJozini, ka Mandlakazi, ka Msogwava, si xota ngawe. Siyathuba.
Thank you, Honorable Member Kosa. I will now call upon Honorable Member NC Majeke.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable ministers, members, people at the gallery, and viewers at home. The United Democratic Movement supports the budget. However, we would like to drive home the few following issues for the department to pay attention to. The reason why education is such an important pillar towards South Africa's development pathway is because a proper education remains the only way to break the cycle of underdevelopment and poverty in the majority South Africans are still caught in. A proper education has the potential to increase the employability or income-generating capacity of South Africa's majority poor, thereby enabling them to be employed or be entrepreneurs in their own right, mitigating on the high inequality levels in South Africa. The important element to accept is that history alone is not the only reason why South Africa's education system has serious challenges. Three critical factors are affecting educational outcomes. And according to Jennifer Schindler, a specialist manager in Joint Education Trust, Education Services, and non-profit research and development organizations, these can be termed as follows, I quote: in-classroom factors such as teaching and resources, in-school factors such as leadership and management, and out-of-school factors such as parental involvement and socio-economic circumstances. The content knowledge of teachers is a serious challenge. Education is only as good as your teacher, and the demise of teacher training colleges robs of an opportunity to produce teachers with basic pedagogic and content knowledge competencies needed to impart the skills needed by our learners. Teacher training colleges provided a focused approach in the development of teachers and instill a sense of pride among teachers and in teaching general. A well-run school with a good principal produces excellent results. School management is largely a function of a principal, is one of the in-school factors that requires urgent attention. District offices are supposed to support and monitor schools both in administration and subject areas. The fact that often they are understaffed with personnel which may not have the right skills make it difficult for them to play this role meaningfully. And the role of school governing bodies also needs to be looked into very critically. Out-of-school factors such as poverty shackle the attitude of parents and society towards education. Accordingly, the United Democratic Movement chairperson suggests that early in the schooling system, the focus should be on producing learners who can
Honourable
read,
Member, you're left
write,
with 1 minute.
and count. This also means that early childhood development should be directly linked to the mainstream education system. Put in place internal controls to increase accountability, transparency of the learning process, and the use of resources towards education at all government levels and in the classroom. Dedicated focus in improving the infrastructure in townships and rural schools. The reported Eastern Cape failure to spend its infrastructure budget while many schools remain in danger to learners and teachers must also come to an end. Honorable Chairperson, the burning of schools in Limpopo is a criminal activity and must be treated as such. Law must be fully enforced. Again, United Democratic Movement supports the budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member Macheke. I will now call upon Honourable Member A.D. Alberts.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, ek praat altyd mooi, maar julle hou nie altyd wat ek sê nie. Minister, your department plays a crucial role in establishing the ability of people to effectively and successfully create a viable economy. Many of our economic ills can be traced back to the education system. Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan notes that education is one of the structural problems currently facing our economy. Ten einde dus werkloosheid te bekamp, moet ons die basiese onderwysstelsel regryk. Daar is 'n paar kwessies waarvan die minister moet kennis neem ten einde kwaliteit onderrig te verseker. Firstly, infrastructure. We have alluded to this last year and need to emphasize that many of the ills plaguing the basic education system is to be found in a lack of infrastructure and especially more schools. This challenge does not only lead to children being schooled under trees and in mud huts, but is often in conflict with the constitutional principle of instruction in one of the official languages which facilitates mother tongue schooling. The lack of schools results in single medium schools being forced to accommodate other language learners, whereby English becomes the bridging language and inevitably the only language of instruction. Therefore, more non-English single medium schools must be built. The second problem relates to language as instruction. As you would know, Minister, it is a scientific fact that learners who are instructed in their mother tongue at the foundation phase comprehend difficult concepts much easier. The problem we face is that most learners are being taught in English that is, in most cases, their second to fifth language. It is impossible for these learners, many of whom are very poor, to fight their daily circumstances and excel at a school where they first have to come to grips with difficult subjects like mathematics in English. The only way out of poverty is to allow them to understand and excel in their own language. And thirdly, provincial education. Minister, we request the Minister to take a closer look at problems in the provinces. One example is the conduct in the Gauteng province under MEC Lessufi. We pointed out last year that the MEC has embarked on an ideologically driven program to force single medium Afrikaans schools to become English schools. The process is ostensibly driven on the premise that not enough schools are available in the province. Maar meneer Lesofie ontvang egter 'n wesentlike begroting om nuwe skole te bou, maar doen dit glad nie. Hy het self gesê dat hy nie nuwe skole gaan bou nie, al het hy 'n begroting daarvoor ontvang. Ons het daarom hom by die ouditeur-generaal aangegee wat aan ons onderneem het om hom te ondersoek of hy dan voldoen aan die openbare finansiële bestuurswet al dan nie. Die minister moet asseblief agslaan op die LER se optrede voordat die rasisme daarvan in die regering se gesigte ook ontplof. Want ons weet daar is baie sprake van rasisme wat oor en weer gegooi word in ons samelewing en ons moet baie versigtig daarmee omgaan. So Minister, we ask you to attend to these problems for the sake of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Member Alberts. I will now call upon Honourable Member Dudley. Order.
Thank you, Chair. The ACDP is encouraged by the Minister's recognition that parts of the education system are in fact in crisis. So much has been done and yet huge challenges remain. Challenges which have been alluded to by previous speakers, but with as many as 40% of students continuing to drop out before they write their national senior certificate exams, we know we have a long way to go. The need to bridge the gap between poor, marginalized learners from all provinces in South Africa, especially from rural areas in Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Eastern Cape, and other more privileged learners, is still an urgent priority. And the ACDP notes efforts to address what has been called a two-tier education system by tackling teacher absenteeism, poor results, financial mismanagement, lack of furniture, poor infrastructure, sanitation, and unfilled vacancies. Honourable Minister, the reported decision not to appeal the Supreme Court judgment upholding learners' rights to be provided with their full complement of textbooks before the commencement of the academic year has encouraged many stakeholders concerned about disparities. Textbook delivery must, however, continue to be monitored closely, and we note that Section 27 has urged those affected by lack of delivery to SMS textbooks to 44984 to contact the BEFA Secretariat should they experience shortages. The ACDP believes our ability to produce and retain school teachers in sufficient numbers is a pressing concern, as it will impact on both access and quality of education in the short and long term. Learner enrollment is expected to rise from about 12.4 million in 2013 to 13.4 million in 2023, according to some estimates. To meet increased learner enrollment, teacher numbers will need to expand from 426,000 in 2013 to about 456,000 in 2025, which is approximately 30,000 teachers over 12 years. According to some reports, South Africa is losing thousands of teachers annually to the UK, Australia, Canada, and other countries, including the Middle East and Asia. The reason most often given is better salaries, and the exodus, they say, is showing no sign of slowing down. A primary school teacher in South Africa, we're told, earns an average of about 148,000 per year, and a high school teacher earns an average salary of 166,000 per year. Sadly, experience has only a moderate effect on income, and most teachers move on to other jobs after 20 years, if not before, whether within the country or overseas. Inadequate benefits, including medical aid and housing subsidies, add to the temptation when faced with a better offer. The ACDP calls on both government and members of parliament to seriously consider the urgent need for better salaries, benefits, opportunities for promotion,
Honourable Member,
and
1 minute
recognition
left.
for achievements and long service, to create greater incentives for teaching as a career choice, and to significantly improve teacher retention. More than ever before, educators must meet the increasing demands of today's rapidly changing society. Ongoing training and support is also essential, not only to skillfully address new challenges and meet students' needs, but to increase job satisfaction. Lastly, the ACDP recognizes the importance of the annual national assessment, which has great value with regard to supporting professional development in providing meaningful and credible feedback aimed at continuously improving educator performance and student results. The ACDP calls on the Minister to ensure that annual assessments are not undermined or sacrificed in the wake of other agendas. The ACDP will support this budget, which must meet the challenge of providing education that meets the needs of the people of South Africa. And we recognize, Honourable Minister and the Department, the work being done. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member Dudley. I'll now call upon Honorable Member L.M. Njaisa.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. As a committee, we have considered the report as a summary from the presentation made by the Department for Education, SABC, and Umalusi. That is its statutory bodies. Our focus was on the department's strategic plan, the annual performance plan, and the 2016-17 budget. It is therefore our mandate to make it a point that proper allocations are made to programs so as to bring service to the people as expected. It is also imperative that we as a committee play a very important role between the public representatives and the communities. As indicated, the programs have been properly aligned to the National Development Plan, the Mid-Term Strategic Framework of 2014-19, and as a form from the department's, they form part of the department's action plan. We wish that the National School Nutrition, the continuous professional teacher development, and the scholar transport are thoroughly looked into. These programs now must be properly managed. The scholar transport in particular has just become a headache. Learners are just loaded into buckets like mealie bags, and traffic cops just turn a blind eye to that. The Department of Transport must also be roped in as a form of intergovernmental relations strategy. We as also encourage the promotion of maths, science and technology, because the world is moving very fast, so we've got to teach this subject in our schools thoroughly. We also appreciate the decision that has been taken by the department to come up with the model of annual national assessment, SISANA, because it was just getting out of control and teachers were refusing to implement this. For sure now, once it has just been modelized, then now teachers will be in a position to implement. The committee has to play an oversight role in all these programs as a mandate so that the communities benefit. As AIC, we condemn the burning of schools in particular and the government property in general. How we wish that these people that are protesting should learn a very good lesson now from the people from Atatiela. We were so peaceful. We conducted our protest in a very peaceful manner.
Honorable members, don't drown the speaker.
We didn't burn any schools. We didn't burn any government property. We're just as peaceful as always. But unfortunately, we didn't gain anything. Let me come to our non-negotiables.
1 minute left.
There should be the learner support material. 1 textbook per learner, per subject, and per grade, so that now our learners do not suffer. Learners cannot afford now to be without teacher. There must be a teacher in front of the learner each and every time. Then teachers must teach, learners must learn. I think the department now should pay attention to the infrastructure, the basic services, and these should be maintained. All schools should have ICT as a part of the operation package. We appreciate the 3-stream schooling system, that is academic, technical occupational, and technical vocational, because this is an improvement of our curriculum in particular. The teacher-learner well-being and safety at school now should be also prioritized, because there are so many events in which our schools, rather learners and teachers, are not safe at schools. So we should make the conditions at
Honourable
school
Member,
to be
your time has
conducive
expired.
to learning and teaching. Finished?
Yes.
Is it? Thank you very much. In any way, now we do support the budget.
Thank you, Honorable Nchaisa. Order. Order. I will now call upon Honorable Member Mbinda. Mr.
Is that on our list?
Thanks. Greetings to you, Madam Speaker, and all honorable members. Let me maybe first open my debate by quoting our founder member, former PAC President, Robert Sobukwe, when he said, open quotes, education to us means service to Africa. Without education, no nation can effectively and adequately deal with the everyday challenges and would not avoid future challenges that they might face as a nation. Moving out of Bantu education, the present government was duty-bound to introduce a radical program to root out the teachings of Bantu education. Bantu education was training our people to be better slaves, whom their work was to serve the interest of their masters. Since 1994, the government has been acting like a man who has just lost their mind, especially when dealing with the question of education. One curriculum is being introduced after the other, and they all seem irrelevant and not responsive to our nation needs. Let us begin with the infrastructural capacity for teaching and learning in our public school, which this government is moving at a snail pace to expand. In Garangua, since '94, there has always been one primary school per section since apartheid, and that is still the case even today. What the government is doing is just changing names and painting colors while our children are subjected to overcrowding in classes. In the Eastern Cape, there are still mud schools that are located in the most dangerous of areas, which students have to walk long distances in mountainous areas, having to cross rivers and dams. And that is happening after 22 years of democracy. As a country, we should look at our priorities and begin to invest our resources correctly in the future of our children. That will in turn translate to the future of our country. Millions and millions of rands are being used to host international sporting events like these unexplainable solar renovations of presidential houses and exorbitant salaries and benefits to parliamentarians and many other wasteful expenditures. They should come to a stop, and we must rather invest in education. And on behalf of the PAC, obviously we support because we want the kids to continue.
Thank you, Honorable Member Mbinda. I will now call upon Honorable Member van der Walt.
Okay. Honorable House Chair, yesterday I spent my day in Vuvani, Limpopo. The devastation I saw there was truly heartbreaking. I dedicate this speech to every learner in Vuvani who has been denied their constitutional right to attend school, both the learners from the damaged schools and those whose schools aren't open because out of fear. Infrastructure is an essential part of education. It includes classrooms, computer laboratories, sport facilities, water, sanitation, and electricity. Toch het dit van die grootste ewels onder die ANC-regering geword. It has become an easy road to riches for the connected few as we see the cost of building projects sky high. Too often, contractors are paid in full before projects are completed, and departments are left with abandoned projects and learners without classrooms or schools. What actions have been taken against officials and contractors at fault? Nothing. Limpopo has many such examples. A province that for quite some time was under Section 101B administration of this department, and I see the previous administrator is present, wasn't fixed, and today it is still under intervention of the provincial treasury. As we have seen in Buvani last week, both the national and provincial education departments have not learned the meaning of proactive, as no steps were taken in advance to secure the infrastructure of our schools. Didn't we learn anything from the burning of schools in Malamulele last year when the very same demarcation issue was on the table? The result is that 24 schools were set alight and thousands of learners are now at home. To make matters worse, we were told yesterday that close to 50 schools in the surrounding areas are closed. What will happen to these learners from a mostly poor area? What future and economic freedom will they have without continuous education? But infrastructure doesn't end with buildings. Water, sanitation, electricity is critical. Far too many schools do not have water, and it is not because of the drought. It is all proudly brought to communities by the ANC due to non-delivery of basic services. And shame on you, Honourable Member. Children are not attending school as they are sent home because there just isn't water at schools. We witnessed in several towns last month in the East London and in Falwater. Sanitation seems to be only a matter of urgency on paper. Only the DA-governed Western Cape have successfully eradicated pit toilets completely. Not a single ANC-governed province. In eMatlakhleni, Gauteng, I see MEC Lesufi is present. Eastern Cape, KZN and Limpopo, we have seen toilets that should indeed be bulldozed. It is so bad and dangerous that we asked the South African Human Rights Commission to investigate. The question is, how is the infrastructure norms and standards spent? Will funds be given to provinces as conditional grants, and will they report on such spending to ensure our children's needs, safety and dignity are the #1 priority? Chairperson, the people of South Africa are losing faith in this government's capacity to deliver. That is why this year, on 3rd of August, more and more people will make a different choice. They will vote for a party with a proven track record in education and service delivery. They will vote for change. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Van der Walt. I'll now call upon Honourable Member TZM Koza.
Honourable Chair, Ministers present, Deputy Minister, Honourable Members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, ngiyanibingelela. Kulendzandvo elinyenti lesafufusako letama kukhumula emajokwe ekungalingani, lubandlululo nekucindzeteleka lephokophelele kuba bombetsa bebuntu, ubuntu. Kulingana nekulinganisa kuto tonke tinhlelo tawo onke emacembu alelive letigucukako tiphindze tidlondlobale sitimisele kubambelela. Angisho ke ukuthi kumhlonishwa Mbinda siyabonga kusupporta Kepha siyafisa ukuthi lenyela ngasike sikubone ekomitini utokhuluma indolo yatiko. This time in our history, more than ever before, we have a responsibility to raise the bar and ensure that we leave our country and its people the legacy of solid and quality basic education. This must enable all young children in our country, despite their economic and social background, to have access to quality basic education and ensure that we can improve their potential and opportunities for future development. It is against this background that the ANC-led government deliberately, consciously declared improved quality basic education as priority number one. Let us ensure that we harness our collective energies, a call made by the ANC that we must deliver on this important assignment, which the generation of young people today expect to receive from all of us. Thank you, Mhlonishwa Macheke, for supporting this call by supporting the budget. We therefore welcome the developments that we have noted within the work of the Minister of Basic Education to date. It is important to acknowledge that despite the challenges that still exist, the system has continued to show signs of improvement. The ANC-led government has improved the lives of people of South Africa, giving them hope and increasing opportunities for economic participation. This is reflected in the comparison done on the numbers of candidates who passed matric from 1970 to 2015. In 1970, only 43,000 learners passed matric. In 2000, the number was 283,294 learners. Honorable Chair, this improvement can only be attributed to the existence and commitment of the ANC-led government in improving the lives of the people of South Africa. Last year, 2015, about 825 learners passed matric despite the teaching stages of the transformation process. Honorable Davis, can I take you into confidence that schools between quintile 1 and 3 reflected the following improvement in 2015 NSC results? More than 80.5% of schools between quintile 1 and 3 met the minimum standard. It doesn't mean that best educators are in white schools. 52% of bachelor's passes in the 2015 NSC exams were from rural schools. The less said by Honorable Matloko, who is not here anymore, the better. Kuyingoti kubhalelwa inkulumo ngoba ufika unhlanhlathe ehlathini. The KZN story by Honorable Mabika is not there. Fika babe uattend imhlangano yelkomiti, you will know the facts. Honorable Chair, these improvements cut across communities in deep rural areas.
Order, Honorable Member Khoza, take your seat. Honorable Member, what are you rising on?
Which story is not there? Which story?
Honorable Member, what are you rising on?
The Honorable Member must be clear as to which story is not there in KZN.
Honorable Member, may you please take your seat?
You mustn't just say the story in KZN is not there. Which one?
Honorable Member, take your seat. Honorable Member, you may proceed. Order. Honorable Member, you may proceed.
Indeed, Minister, we welcome the fact that the ANC-led government refocuses education service delivery in terms of goal number 4 of the sustainable development, which is about ensuring inclusivity and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. I mean for all, Honorable Boshoff. I don't know, Gutsi, leti balobalo letining letingaka of the disabled people utithatha kuphi. Mhlambe uma ungatilesa tibe khona ngoba kuleti ndzawo lesihlala kuto asitiboni. Principles used to determine the performance of an education system are access, redress, equity, efficiency, and quality, which is work in progress. Honorable Chair, allow me to make this House aware of the findings of a comparison of 5-year-olds attending educational institutions between 2005 and 2014, and learners benefiting from National School Nutrition Program between 2010 and 2014 per province, in terms of the Statistics of South Africa General Household Survey. Almost all the provinces on the 5-year-olds, they are moving up to 80% and above in terms of increasing. Shame on Western Cape because it is still at 71.6%. However, we have to indicate that in the National School Nutrition Program, all the provinces are showing a sign of improvement. It's only the Northern Cape that has dropped due to the closure of non-viable schools. Honorable Chair, this is an improvement indeed. This has been marked by the decline in dropout rate across the grades between 2007 and 2012. Honorable Chair, we welcome the department's initiative towards the introduction of the three-stream model, which will cater for most of the learners who do not want to follow the academic stream, not those who failed to follow the academic stream, but those who do not want. That is a fact. Examination and assessment influences classroom practices and exerts a full potential on standards of teaching and learning. Part of the drive to improve the quality of education is the raising of the standard of the NSC examination. The Department of Basic Education has given attention to capacitating districts by promulgating a policy on the organization, roles, and responsibilities of districts. This policy was successfully mediated in all provinces, and provinces have made progress in aligning the district towards this policy. This policy is clear in how districts should unpack the basket of services in supporting schools. The policy further expressed delegation of authority that should be accorded to district by provincial head of departments. The establishment of the Planning and Delivery Oversight Unit has yielded positive results in that a number of underperforming districts has been reduced tremendously. The following is the list of most improved, predominantly rural districts in 2015 NSC examination due to the effort of this unit. Thabo Mafutsanyana in Free State, 87.3. Ehlanzeni district, where we have Kulangwane Seket, who had its high schools getting over 80%, with Mzili scoring 100%, is at 82.4%. Nkangala in Mpumalanga is 81.7%. Buhlabelo in Mpumalanga is 76.7%. Namakwa in Northern Cape, 76.5%. Vembe in Limpopo is 74.7%. Kradok in Eastern Cape, 71.6%. Umlazi in KZN is 72.6%. Honorable Chair, the list is endless. Siyaqhuba. Inkundla manje seyiyalingana. Eminyakeni lengamashumi lamabili nakubili leyengcile lelitiko libubeketelele buhlungu bangaphambili labuguqula labenda emafutha endlela. Imvukutselo yethu icondziseke kahle ekuguquleni umcondo waFervoet wekuthi bantu labamnyama ngete batenda tibalo. Namhla sibona labasikati labanyenti labahlabanako etifundweni tetibalo netescience. Kuyathusa noko ukuthi lilunga lelihloniphekile lelingumnumzane Davis liyafika la liyamlacata Fervoet alisamada kasasiwalo wenu noma ningathini. Kuthusa futhi kuva lilunga lelingu Albert still believing that they can use Africans to prevent black learners to their former Africans-only schools. No, we are not going there and we are not compromising. We have to change the system. The mandate to improve school infrastructure is derived from the outcome number 1 of the government's
Honorable Member,
2014.
could you please take a seat?
Chairperson.
Honorable Member, what are you raising on?
On a point of order.
Point of order.
Thank you. The Speaker just said that we are trying to pretend that Verwoerd was not a member of our party. And that is misleading. this House and the nation. Verwoerd was never a member of our party. In fact, he was a member of some of the members sitting on the ANC benches. He was a member of their party and the leader of their party, not ours. I think the record needs to be corrected.
Order, so that I can make a ruling on this one. Order, so that I can make a ruling. Honorable member, it's not a point of order, it's a point of debate. Honorable members, it is a point of debate. Please take your seat.
Chairperson, may I address you, please, on a point of order?
Are you coming on another point
Yes.
of order?
Chairperson, there's one thing having a debate and engaging ideas. That's fair enough. But when you deliberately mislead the House, that is a separate issue altogether. And that's what that honourable member is doing, is misleading the House. I have no problem with having a debate.
You must submit a substitute motion. You can't just say you that requires a substitute motion. That accusation.
Okay, order. Honorable member, I still maintain that this is a point of debate because you are responding to a matter that he has raised in his debate. Yes, it is a point of debate and case closed.
Chair, we will definitely take this matter further.
But honorable member, shall we proceed? There's another point of order this side. Honorable member, what are you raising on?
Chair, may the member repeat exactly as what the member has raised in the debate in the African language, because I think here we might be playing about semantics. May he repeat?
Well, honorable member, I'm afraid your point of order is not sustained. Shall we proceed with the debate?
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo. The mandate to improve school infrastructure is derived from outcome number 1 of government's 2014 to 2019 medium-term strategic framework, which commits government to invest in school infrastructure, and that infrastructure activities account to the bulk of the department spending. His Excellency, the President Jacob Zuma, in his State of the Nation address, committed the government to improving infrastructure schools in order to create conducive environment for teaching and learning. He indicated that the Accelerated School Infrastructure Delivery Initiative is part of the National Infrastructure Plan. He furthermore stated that the National Infrastructure Development Program continues to be a key job driver and catalyst for economic growth, and that water is a critical resource for economic growth and better life. Yes, we agree that in some of the areas we still have challenges with water, but we have addressed it. It is no more the same as before 1994. It will never go back to that. The provision of infrastructure remains a major
Remember,
need
1 minute left.
in rural areas. That is why the ANC-led government had pulled together all resources, making sure that there is a sustainable human settlement in rural areas, which include the provision of houses, access to schools, clinics, and recreational facilities, among others. Honorable Chair, we are proud to indicate that through ASIDI, the Department of Basic Education was able to hand over 107 state-of-the-art schools, which has got all the facilities that are needed in a school situation.
Honorable
So
member,
where
may you
there are
please
challenges
respect
is what
the
we've
decorum of the
inherited
House.
from the apartheid system.
Honorable
But we're
member.
still addressing those.
Order.
Honorable Chair, we welcome the budget and would like to acknowledge that it is in essence inadequate to address the historical backlogs of the period prior to 1994. Although
Honourable
it will
member,
be able to find targeted
your time has
infrastructure
expired.
programs in this current ANC support.
Honorable member, just a reminder that I am working cooperatively with the front table. So you can't tell me what time I should ask the member to sit down, because I have to rely on the two officials who have been allocated to do just that. So please, let's not disrespect this House. Thank you very much. I will now call upon Honorable Member The Honorable Minister of Basic Education, Honorable Member Motshekga. Order.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Let me acknowledge MECD Suf. I didn't notice that he was here. Thank you very much for attending. And Chair, also want to thank all members who participated in this debate, and including the peacetime heroes who left now in the red overall, so there's nothing even to talk about. Thank them also for their 1 cent piece of contributions. Chair, what I really want to use the remaining time for is just quickly clarifying the point that Member Davis made around the 3 streams, because we are very excited and I think to be unfortunate to spread wrong information on the 3 streams. The 3 streams are not meant to be dumping areas for our learners. They are meant to assist us to change the colonial, not even the colonial education landscape, where there's more focus on academic, and the world internationally, Chair, is getting a balance between technical skills and vocational skills. So it is not all the learners that are going to be taken there because they have learning disabilities. For instance, the school which the MEC was opening yesterday, the Curtis Nkondo School of Specialization, it's one such school. Learners were strictly selected in terms of their aptitudes. We took the best. The principal is a top achiever with a PhD. The teachers, the minimum qualifications, an honors degree. And these are not learners who are being dumped there, but it's learners who have different interests, aptitudes, and abilities. And as I say, we're beginning to respond for the first time much more aggressively. We've been doing it much more aggressively to deal with the colonial education landscape, to ensure that we are in line with international trends. The DG had visited Germany last week. He told me that already Germany's at 60-40. So that's where the world is going. So it's not dumping
Honorable
areas.
Minister, your time is up.
No, I want to thank members, Chair, and say to all members who participated in the debate, because of time we're unable to respond, but can say to the Chair, we are most willing to come and respond to all the points made from language policies, learners with special needs, and we are very willing to come. So, but thank members very much for the... Stop shouting. Waters. Thank you very much, Chair.
Well, thank you, honorable members. Just a reminder that the debate on transport budget vote will take place at 16 hours, 15 minutes in the National Assembly chamber, and the debate on arts and culture budget vote will take place at 16 hours, 15 minutes in the old Assembly chamber. That concludes the business of the committee, and the committee will now rise.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 37, Arts and Culture Appropriation Bill.
I now invite the Honourable the Minister of Arts and Culture to introduce his budget vote. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and the ministers here, our Deputy Minister, Honorable Rejoice Mabuda Fasi, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Members, Chairpersons of and Chief Executive of public entities, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Kule nyanga esikuyo, inyanga kaNhlaba, sikhumbula kakhulu umsebenzi sawenza eminyakeni engamashumi amabili edlule. Lapho samisa khona ngokusemthethweni umthetho seko wezwe. Sithi-ke njoba sihamba leminyaka esikuyona, siyabuka futhi sibheke ngemuva la siphuma khona. Sikhumbuzane ukuthi unyaka ubalekile lo esikuwona. Unyaka la sigubha khona amashumi ayisithupha eminyaka omama imbokodo yaqonda endlini zombuso e-Union Building. Iminyaka engamashumi amane intsha yakithi abafundi bathatha khona ikusasa labo balibeka ezandleni zabo befuna ukuthi kushintshe izinto indlela ezenzeka ngayo. Nje uhulumeni ke sithi kufanele sikhulume sixoxe sichaze futhi ngemvelaphi yethu ngowethu umlomo hayi ngomunye umuntu. Ingakho embonini yezemboniso zithombe kulonyaka sizobe siqala khona sivula ezinye zezithombe ezichaza impilo yamanye amaqhawe omzabalazo Solomon Mahlangu Kalushi ngomhla ka-15 soqala mhla ka-15 kuJuni. Sizoba futhi kuyo lenyanga le zingamashumi amabili nesithupha sivula ngokusemthethweni umboniso kaTata uMandela simbonisa kakhulu lwela inkululeko njengegerilla lombutho wesizwe esikubiza ngeMandela's Gun. Lona ke umboniso wokuqala ozokwenzeka ngempilo kaMadiba ozobe udlalwa abadlali base South Africa. Miningi eminye sesiyibukile kodwa lo uzoba nomehluko. Our efforts are directed at realizing the goals of outcome 14, which is nation building and social cohesion. And on that one, we want to emphasize the point that for us to move forward as South Africa, first and foremost, we must understand that we are seized with the task of ensuring that there is national identity in South Africa, something which is a unifying perspective for all South Africans, and we must work for that. And for us to achieve that, we also have to know that our identity is intertwined with the identity of the entire continent. Through the program of Africa We Want and the outputs out of the nation building program. And it's only through that we are going to be able to realize our goals. And some of these outputs, amongst others, is the promotion and fostering of the constitutional values, is ensuring that we achieve equal opportunities, inclusion and redress, promotion of social cohesion across society through increased interaction across race and class. What this means is that there are those things we need to do. We shouldn't at any point be tolerant of racism. We should fight it and ensure that we defeat it, because it's in the best interest of a South Africa moving forward. All the people who have identified themselves as racist need to be isolated by all South Africans. And we need to work very hard to ensure that we isolate them. But this month also is the month of Africa. It's Africa Month. This program of Africa Month mainly is as a result of commemorating and celebrating our Africanness, particularly the formation of the Organization of African Unity on the 25th of May 1963, which decolonized our continent. Today, our task is to ensure that we take the work of our forebears forward by, amongst others, ensuring that AU Agenda 2063 triumph. And we will do that by ensuring that all that which we are as South Africa, we share with the rest of the continent, and understanding that this is our continent. Africa and her diaspora is the definition of all of us. We would succeed on this because we have capable men and women who are with us on this journey. The reference group of Africa Month, where we have the likes of Professor Ntuli, Mongane Serote, Richard Nwamba, Professor Motoso, Angela Martins, Alif Keita, and others. So these are the group of people whom we are working with to ensure that indeed the dream of our forebears is realized, particularly in this epoch where we have to ensure that we integrate our continent both politically, economically, socially, and culturally. As part of this program, the acclaimed Amandla Musical Ensemble will be hosted at Emalahleni. Lectures of the Festival of Ideas would be delivered by Professor, amongst others, Professor Oli Sonyika, Professor Harold McDougall, and talks presented by Ama Ato Aidu, amongst others. And significantly, this year is the centenary of Fort Hare, the institution that has nurtured generations of African leaders through lectures and engagement on the role of the intellectuals in developing our continent. We also are celebrating 10 years of the formation of Africa World Heritage Fund, which fund has been very helpful in ensuring that Africa is able to follow up and be counted amongst the nations of the world. Because in the world today, the World Heritage Sites are more than 1,031, but in Africa we have only 89, which is 8% of the entire World Heritage Sites. And through its decade-long of existence, the African World Heritage Fund has ensured that it nominates more than 15 African heritage sites into the World Heritage List. And it also has supported 40 conservation projects in the continent. And these include the restoration of the destroyed mausoleum at the Timbuktu World Heritage Site in Mali. On the Mzansi Golden Economy, we said last year that we are going to be approaching Judge Davis in the Davis Tax Commission to ensure that those who contribute to arts and culture get incentives. And indeed, we have done that. We are waiting for the judge and the commission to come back to us to assist us in ensuring that indeed those people who deserve to be given that opportunity are helped, and our artists are benefiting out of that. We also said last year that people in the arts, culture, and heritage field are working under tremendous pressures and challenges, including the lack of finances. And we said we are going to create the Venture Capital Fund, and I must say that today that we are implementing that now. This venture fund is going to ensure the development and the sustainability of the small, medium enterprises, especially for arts and culture. And we do all this, honorable members, because we believe that there is a lot of talent here at home which need to be nurtured. We also have Young Artists Program, the debut fund. This fund mainly is going to ensure that people who are for the first time want to make it out there in this field and sector of arts, culture, and heritage are assisted. That creates opportunities for young artists to publish their first book, produce their first play, catch their first album, or host their first exhibition. The fund will make quarterly awards to a maximum value of 300,000, providing opportunities to develop new local content, and for that, all important break in their careers. We also reported last year that we are going to ensure that we develop a program for industries incubators, where we'll have master classes which are going to be conducted by those who have made it in arts and culture. I can report today that since then we have established 7 in the 7 provinces. We've created these incubators, and will continue to ensure that the rest is also taken into account. On the issue of community arts centers, we have about 250 community arts centers throughout the country, and we have interacted with our provinces, especially the MECs, to ensure that we make this beehive of activities. We develop talent, particularly at that level. And that program is continuing. Some of them are being refurbished. Last year, in August, we launched a program of Living Legends legacy program. And this program is about ensuring that that which our people have been complaining about, that we have icons in our society who die as paupers, are given a chance in life. They are given their dignity back, and that program is working very well. And we have people who have been elected as part of that, who elected themselves as legends amongst themselves. The chairperson of the legends, welcome Somi with the deputies, Ms. Letambulu, and many others. We have people like Brahuma Sikela, Bra Ibrahim, Abdullah Ibrahim, Joe Mafela, Wale Serote, Fred Heckman, Mr. Adil Blank, Dr. Peter Magubane, Mr. Stompy Manana, Don Matera, and many others. In 2016, under the auspices of the new trust, the Living Legends program will continue to profile the legends and provide opportunities for skills exchange, because we think this is very important for us. We are pleased that we have one of them amongst us here, Dr. James Matthews, in our midst today, an internationally acclaimed author and truly a living literary legend. We congratulate him on the honorary doctorate he received at the end of March from Rhodes University. We also congratulate him in advance on his 87th birthday, which he will celebrate on the 24th of May. May he continue to cry rage for many, many years. And on the promotion of local content and music industry, the department has continued to work with partners. Oh yes, has continued to work with partners in the music sector to implement joint programs in support of music industry. The Moshito Conference continues to provide opportunities for the industry to network, discuss issues impacting on the sector, and trade opportunities. We assist with the transformation of the film industry and the need to develop new exhibition spaces for the viewing of local film, as well as protecting local film industries. We are also working with the DTI to ensure that the amendments to the current copyright regime, including the increasing local content quotas, as they will benefit the creative industry and artists in particular, and we are working together to ensure that our people have a better life. On the heritage landscape, we have the task team which has been working to look at the heritage landscape of our country with the principles of inclusivity, with the principles of ensuring that the values and principles of transformation are taken on board. The task team is still seized with the matter, and we are benchmarking ourselves and working, doing studies with, in other countries and so on, to ensure that at the end of the day, the story we tell is a true story of South Africa. There are things we are going to agree with, there are things which will be bottom lines. We are not going to be accepting anything where you have the proponents of apartheid in the public spaces. We'll ensure that the people who occupy the public spaces are people who are and would be accepted by the majority of the people in the country, whilst at the same time being sensitive to some of the majorities. But whether we are talking reconciliation or nation building, we have to take leave from Germany, for instance. You can't have Hitler occupying public space. That will never happen. We should ensure that as we move forward, what we have in the public space is helping in ensuring that we heal the divisions of the past and ensure that our people work together. We also have launched the National Heritage Monument in September, where we are telling our story about South Africa, the evolution of our society from the pre-colonial era to 1994. We'll tell that story through the statues, which will be in hundreds as we are proceeding to build the Heroes Acre, because we must ask ourselves a question. If somebody comes to South Africa and wants to pay tribute to the heroes and heroines who passed on, where do they go to? There has to be a center, a place where people are going to go to pay respect to the people of our country. We are also a centenary this year of the Delville Wood battle, where many South Africans, especially Africans and blacks, were discriminated against, even as they were fighting side by side with their colleagues and comrades in the First World War. So what we did is to ensure that the apartheid which was done before, because these people were fighting for their country, they represented South Africa. But when they died, they were buried together, but because of the laws, they were exhumed because they were Africans. We are taking them back where they're supposed to be, because we believe in the equality. And this is what would be happening later this year in July. We also have finalized the Liberation Heritage Route. And again, we're telling our stories through places, people, and other stories about where do we come from as a society. Because it's that together with our own history which is going to ensure that we build a cohesive society. We can't be knowing more about what is happening in Europe. We'll know about Mussolini, Woodrow Wilson, Hitler, but you don't know about Nkrumah. So together with the Department of Basic Education, we are researching on this process of ensuring that history is compulsory in our education system. Our children understand their roots, because it's through that they would know and be able to engage with the society at large. That includes the Khoi Sun Heritage Route, which we are developing and about to finish. I must also say that we continue to pay tribute to our heroes, the departed, the leaders, people who brought us to where we are today. We will be soon in KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, be unveiling a